All right, welcome to another edition of DJVonFire. I'm David Joshua Vales. Producing with me today is my son Jonathan Andrew Vales. And again, just getting down to the basics, what we're trying to do is get to know people around the building, around Second Place. And so hopefully my next guests, you've seen him around, and maybe he's got something interesting to say. We're going to figure it out. And then, stop by, give him a talking to, give him a greeting when you see him around the building. And then the second thing is just talk about the year I had last year in 2020 and some of the changes and the things that I put to practice, and just trying to share, kind of what I picked up over time. You can subscribe to this video. I did hear that YouTube puts in their own commercials now. So if you see a commercial while you're watching this, myself nor my guest Matt will be profiting from that. But subscribe, notify. Every Monday we're going to have a new podcast come out. You can always email me at djv@secondplacechurch.com, Instagram at DJVonFire, as well as my daily quotes. So lots of ways to reach out. You can see that stuff in the notations below. But my guest today is none other than Matthew Lee Boomsma. Matthew Lee Boomsma. He was hesitant to tell me Lee. I'm not sure why. We thought of from the Fugitive. What was it?
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones.
That's who came to mind when I heard the middle name Lee. His was not.
No, I thought Lee Harvey Oswald.
Lee Harvey Oswald. Do you think his sound's going to be all right? He's good? You got to fix his mic. He's good. All right, so we're going to stick with Matthew or Matt, probably.
Go with Matt.
Matt.
I'm not a formal sort of guy.
Not at all.
No.
Okay, which is true because my wife knew you and your wife, Julie, before I did. And then the first time we were going to meet, we were coming over for dinner. Like, it wasn't even like, let's meet at church. It was first time I'm going to meet this family. And I mean, I've seen you around, but I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go, More about me, not because of you. More about me, about being an introvert. And that, but then,
I wasn't worried. There was something intriguing about you because I've seen you in the corner or in the back with the kids. I'm like, I kind of get this guy. You just kind of sit back and
take it all in.
That's it. That's right.
I like to figure out what's going on before I partake. But and then literally like walked in your door. You don't even remember it. I don't remember what you said, but it was something sarcastic. I'm like, all right, this is my guy. This is going to work out. So it was a good dinner. It was part of our membership thing. So we had another couple there, and time kind of flew. I felt like everybody just kind of got along with one another while we were there.
Yeah. I think you guys were the last ones, and then 2020 happened.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
I think.
So that was our fault.
No. Okay.
But but it was nice to get to know you and your family. Then your son started being. He came to I taught the crossing. And so I got to know your son. Like right after that he started, or maybe even in the middle of that whole thing. You build roads.
Not me physically, but yes, physically. I work for a company that builds roads. We're a road builder. Yep. Okay. So project manager and estimator. So kind of.
It's got to be stressful.
It can be. Yeah. I mean, no matter what you're doing, it's not right either per the municipality, the owner, the engineer, or residents that you're trying to build the road for until it's all done. Then it looks fantastic. We did a great job.
So this is more so like you do like residential or private?
No, we do a mix of private and municipal, but building roads, it's all publicly funded. So either the roads are getting rebuilt or we're just resurfacing it. Oh, right. So we'll do some sewer and water and stuff like that. But and then we do like the warehouses and stuff. We stone and curb and sidewalk and the asphalt. So
that aspect, I don't think anybody has a problem with technically. But like
no,
when you're causing traffic jams.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so
that's all
no one.
You.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're thankful when it's done.
My wife has called. In fact, my boss's wife has called him before and said, "Hey, I'm stuck here in traffic with you guys doing work. Is there anything you can do?" It's like,
yeah,
you're welcome. I'm providing for you.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, it's after however. I mean, depending on the job, couple weeks of fighting and stress and dealing with it, or months, however long the project is. Usually at the end, you get a couple residents that say, "Oh, this looks great, fantastic job." Well, thanks, but you weren't saying that
No,
when I put the bucket in the ground. But whatever.
no, you gotta. It's like when people pray for patience. I feel like it starts right there. Like you teach people how to have patience.
I don't, because I quickly run out of my own patience
Okay.
dealing with people sometimes. Yes.
So what brought you to second place? Like, how did you end up?
My
being
wife.
part of it? Your wife.
Yeah. Long story short. Do you want me to go into more depth?
I mean, maybe a
A
little
little
bit.
bit.
Because you guys are trustees now.
Well, I'm a trustee.
You're a trustee.
Yeah, so we were elders.
Okay.
It was like a 3-year term. We stepped down just a lot of stuff.
Right.
For me, wearing the multiple hats of elder and trustee at the same time, plus busy season, was just like too much. Like something had to go. But I guess back when how we came to second place, I was at a different job, and I mean, maybe a longer story is like through some course of unemployment, getting a job at a company that was not financially stable and miserable, to another company. It was a general contractor. I was working out of town, down in like central southern Illinois, so some traveling. And at that time, we were going to another church.
You were living right here in
No, we were in Mantino.
Mantino.
We were living in Mantino.
Down the road a little bit.
A little bit. So we were down at a church there. There's a guy here who was going here, John Baker. You guys were around with him, so John Baker's a good dude. He worked at camp here before he got a job at a church down in Bourbonnais, Mantino, leading worship. And Julie also worked at camp, I believe, with him, so there's some relationship and stuff with him. With his time down at camp and this new job, he needed a place to stay. We offered, hey, like, just transition, your internship or whatever you did at camp wasn't making much, to then jump in and start paying for rent somewhere. That's tough. Like,
yeah.
Matt's going to be working out of town. Do you want to, we got a spot in the basement if you want to stay. So he took us up on it. And,
this is why we do the podcast, because I had no idea. Like, totally know John Baker.
Yeah.
Obviously, got to know you.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I didn't know about it until a month after, I came back from working out.
Jonathan, if you could put like a warning so people understand his dry sense of humor. So when you're editing this video, like somewhere on the screen, put that there might be dry humor as well. So just so people know. I pick up on it right away. We're gonna have people going,
it's a salty sarcasm that just, and then so yeah, he was with, and like it was actually really cool because again we kind of knew the guy. I think it was fantastic for Annika, was just recently born, but for Logan I think it was fantastic, just another guy in the house, especially with I'm not around, and just I've always liked the idea of mentors, and like it's my responsibility to pour into my kids and whatever, but I know having had it in my life, I know there are ways that other people, other guys, especially in the age group between me and my son, that can pour into my kids, or my daughter that can pour into my kids better in different ways than I can. But anyways, so he's there living with us. Annika was not sleeping so well as a newborn, so Julie would be up middle of the night or whatever trying to figure things out, and John was a night owl, so they'd be talking and John would talk about second place and it's great and loves it, and so we were kind of on the fence about, I don't want to say church hopping, but just checking something out. So Julie's like, hey, can we go check this place out? Sure, let's go check it out. And so we started checking it out, and one thing after another is we're here.
Here we are on a podcast.
Here we are on a podcast now, yes. Yes.
When you guys were elders, because it's a little bit different. Like I grew up, elders was just like, we had male elders.
Sure.
But when you guys were asked as a couple.
Yeah, so that's a long process too. So early on after going, and I said something, appreciating you and understanding how you are just sitting in the back and just taking it over.
Mhm.
Like, and that was me for the first couple of years at Second Place. Just some stuff in the past and churches and bouncing around and some leadership and stuff in those churches. There's a point where you just, I need to just sit and be and take it all in, figure this out a little bit. And, but yeah, so both Julie and I have grown up in the Reformed Church of America. We were at another church too, where I was working on, I guess, stepping up as an elder there, and through an intensive training course with that, and very much in the doctrine of elders and church leadership, the designated role for men. And Julie will sit here and she'll be fine with that, and we'll talk about how we reconcile that and make that work, especially because I can't argue the gift of leadership given to women, and there's women that have the gift of leadership and sometimes better than I. So, but yeah, going early on and hearing names of women as elders and everything else, I had to sit down with Joe, just church goers, right, kind of getting into regular attenders of just like, hey, just want to let you know, like, we don't necessarily agree with this doctrine. I don't want to say I want to disagree and argue with it, but like, I don't agree with it. And Joel said that was one of the most impressive things like someone's done early on and coming to the church. But I said, like, we don't agree, but we're not going to be divisive about it. Like, this is the church we want to keep going to. This is what we want to make our church home.
Well, what's important about that, you use the word you weren't church hopping, but some people, like, that just seems to be unfortunately, they can't find a place that's suitable,
Sure.
or if that were to come up, immediately it was a reason to maybe hop or go to another one, and you didn't look at it that way. You go, no, this is where I felt called to be.
Yeah.
And you thought the proper way was just to talk to someone about it.
Sure.
Which is a novel idea, but
yeah,
that's how it should be done.
Well, and part of that too is like just kind of knowing, I think, again, who I am and who Julie is and who we are as a couple. Like, we kind of get into some leadership roles, and like, just let's get this out early. Like, and Joe, if like, just knowing who I am, like, I'm not saying you need to get me on some sort of leadership, but like, if that's where it's going to go, like in the future, which it may or may not, but we're going to have further conversations about this, and like, totally cool and fine. And then,
and you and your wife, you said it kind of have, you agree, you have a pretty, where some couples get together, they came from two different backgrounds.
Sure.
You kind of had the same background, so you kind of had the same beliefs coming in.
Correct.
So it was like a united decision. It wasn't like, oh, this is what I thought. My wife doesn't agree.
Right. Yeah. So very, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So, and then, yeah. So yeah, I mean, just through the years, and then getting talked to about possibly being elders, and it was probably around the same time when Joe did the Here Be Dragons series, and talked, and a couple things brought up and discussed of like, well, doing it is, do the elders thing as a couples thing. It allows for headship and leadership with the male role, I guess, in the family, but also allows for Julie to use her gifts and leadership and everything too. It helps keep accountability between her and I. It helps keep accountability with, I guess, the whole board. I don't like using the term, but board of elders. And it's a very complementary way of looking at it and reconciling, I guess, how we kind of look at what is in the Bible.
Yeah. You have 2 kids.
Correct.
You want to talk about them?
Sure.
You don't have to.
I have 2 kids.
That,
yeah, I have 2 kids, Logan and Annika. So Logan will be 12 here in February.
I guess I brought your son. I brought Logan up. I have not met. I mean, I've seen her run around.
Yeah.
I have not met Annika yet. She's just turned 8.
She just turned 8.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Logan is your son, by the way. After having him in class.
Yes.
He is your son.
Yes. Really? Like, why do you
He's
say
got a
that?
good sense of humor.
Really?
He does.
Okay.
I think he does.
I think honestly, I think.
Or he's more like your wife.
He's. I don't know. I always thought Annika had more of the wit, like the dry, subtle wit that like she.
That's what I have to.
Yeah.
You know, the crossing is 4th and 5th grade class. It used to be 5th and 6th, now it's 4th and 5th.
Yeah.
So she's not there yet.
Yeah.
But I'll get to know her hopefully.
I think Logan's trying, and he's starting to develop it. He's trying to figure it out.
I just like when I can mess with a kid.
Yeah, well, he's been messed with his whole life. So.
That's what I appreciate. So that's why I probably didn't know you were going to hang out.
Yeah.
I know that I can mess with this kid. So.
Yeah.
And I know that his dad probably doesn't mind that I mess with this kid.
No. There's a level, but yes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So this is coming out. Like, we're recording this a little early, but this is coming out 2nd week of January. So New Year's resolutions are on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said you have a busy season that kind of lends itself. And first of all, like, raising a family with 1 child to 8 children doesn't matter.
Right.
It takes a lot of your time.
Sure.
So you already have that on your plate.
Yep.
Then you're busy with the roads.
Yep.
From when is that? What would you consider?
It's
to me, I feel like for always, but
yeah, it's weather dependent.
Okay.
I mean, typically, boilerplate standard answer is early May to end of November.
Okay.
But I mean, this year we were able to start a lot of stuff kind of in March, and we just kind of kept going until we just wrapped up the last bit of work that we could do for the year last Monday.
Last Monday. So
yeah,
for those listening, that's basically almost Christmas.
Yeah.
So now you say you kind of you try to relax the last few weeks. It's perfect for the holidays.
Yep.
You try to get out of town once in a while if you can. That time, but then you're back in it. I to ask you about New Year's resolutions or like, what you do, and you're like, it seems like once you get there, it is March. It turns around again. Like January and February kind of like are blinking an eye for you.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you like start to do something, or you got projects you got to catch up with at home, right? What did you say you were doing? Now this probably was while you were working because it's in the summertime. But you redid like your back.
Yeah. So this last summer we tore out our patio and redid that, so made it bigger, more concrete. Took out the old.
So I asked, do you exercise? And you're like, well, I tore my patio. You said, first said no, but then you're like, here's what I did. And I'm like, no, that counts. Like that's probably more
and
it's people do. And you not only when you were done, like if I get on a treadmill, at the end of the day, or at the end of the run, I'm still in the exact same spot. But like when you started your workout, you got done, and you now had, well, at the end of it, you have a new.
Actually, I don't know if it's a glutton for punishment or what. I mean, part of it is a lot of the projects we've had for the house or want to do have been outdoor projects. So I'm doing that in the construction season as well. So, which, sometimes that helps relieve the stress.
That's one of the thing I was going to ask. You kind of led there, but like, yeah, you need some kind of outlet, like with your job. I talked about having patience, but like you're the start of it, you're the cause of it. But you
that's all my fault.
You feel it as your job, but like it's not easy on your end either. So that builds the stress, and now you just say like, how do you release it? And you're like you doing those types of things. Yeah,
that helps. So yeah, it's not easy sometimes, especially this year. This year was definitely harder. Part of it was because we've had, through some exposures or whatever, so I stuck working at home. Not stuck, but working from home. So that makes for me, that makes it harder to, I need to compartmentalize a little bit. I need to leave work at work. Like, I could, but I don't want to be a work from home sort of person. I need that space and I need it separate, and then I can leave it there, at least as best I can. I take enough home just mentally. But then when the office is in some room in the house, well, I can go sneak in and do this real quick for 5 minutes, and I'm back at work and I'm thinking more about it. So it's a hard question for me to answer because
Yeah.
Again, it's been all just 100% go since March, and just in different sort of ways than not expected. And so how did I don't know how I I don't know how I did it other than by the grace of God.
When I worked in I currently work maybe 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
But I also worked in Peatone, which is right down the road. That was a half-hour drive.
You taught there?
Yes.
Well, I didn't know that.
Peatone High School.
All right.
Blue Devils, right as they were building their new high school, which I guess now, 20 years later, it's not new anymore. But at the time, it was new. But that half-hour drive is where that stress could be released, like for sure. So when you're when you're sitting there and you've got work and you literally open the door and there's life, it's tough in your family. So, but trying to figure out a way to release the stress, whether it be exercise or just doing projects around the house or just getting outside or even going out. Sometimes I try to, you come home and you're a little ornery, or then your kids are, they want to see you, but you need a time to relax. But going outside, and then now that your kids are getting older, they can help a little bit.
They can, because they're still excited to see me, and they still want that, but they understand it a little bit. This year too has been different. And there's definitely a difference between, I'd say, this year and last year, and it's just, I think, growing into this. I've only been at the company, not only, but I've been at the company 6.5 years now. And Julie's recognized, and I think the kids are recognizing too, it can be busy the whole construction season, but Labor Day always seems to be a turning point too, of everyone's freaking out because Labor Day means fall and winter and snow, and so we gotta go do this, and it just becomes even busier. And Julie's she recognized that and recognized all right, I come home and sometimes I gotta go sit on the couch and just nothing, or even sometimes just sitting in the kitchen while she's kind of working on dinner and just sitting there and talking a little bit and not needing to answer questions or solve problems or anything else. Or not say anything.
Yeah, that's good. There's power in being able to just be by yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and she could tell, she's and
it may not take, it's not going to be all night most times.
No, but she could tell, she's you've talked a lot, you've had enough, you've said enough words today. I'm yes I have, thank you.
Just I'm trying to think of that dynamic, because when I think of Matt, I don't know if this is good or bad thing, but to me it's Matt and Julie, and it seems like it's always a united front.
Yeah.
And
good. Well, good. That's,
and
we want to be.
You can see it both as when you were in the leadership together, but now even just seeing you raise your kids in church, which may seem how do you notice how I raise my kids? It just you really experience it. I know my wife working with the kids knows, and so that's an important aspect. I think family, and everybody's family looks different.
Sure.
You just happen to have one boy, one girl. But in any aspect, you need that kind of dynamic, and being able to have the conversations and being able to release stress and that kind of thing. Being able to come home and feel it's a safe place for everyone. Yep. It's important. I sent you my second week of quotes. We're gonna hit the one because I said what I like each week is to have a guest here, read these 7 quotes and get back to me. And you happen to like the first one, which is don't look back, you're not going that way. Mm-hmm. That was the first one. Some of them I'm going to read them all, but they are sound a lot quite similar. And this one though, you kind of felt a little bit different than the rest, or you could speak to it a little bit. So don't look back, you're not going that way. What kind of message would that say to you?
I don't know. You can't dwell on. You wrote the second part of that, right?
Yeah, that's my thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read that.
No, it's fine. I'm not. But a lot. That's why I picked it. Along the same lines of your thoughts. There. You can't dwell on past mistakes. I think it's very important. There's a fine line, and you could step back and say it's a paradox, and where's that line? I don't know where the line is, and there's a lot. I think the whole Christian faith that can seem like a paradox, but it's not. Once you start looking at it, it's just a line of, or the same coin, just different sides.
Yeah.
I think you need to look at your past and you look through your past and in your past and see where God's worked and how He's used that to bring you where you're at now. But I don't think it's good to look at your past and dwell on mistakes or and because of this I can't do this. No, I think you got to look at it like, wow, I went through this, God was there, and now I can continue going forward.
Yeah, that's, you said it kind of is what I was saying. I think my stress, when I try to stress, was like, obviously your mind is going to look back at things. But what happens is people go and just hang out there.
Sure.
And they worry about, they look at all the bad things that happen to them. And like you said, and I like the way you said it better, because I did not use the word God in my explanation, but clearly that's what it is. It's like, where was God in those moments? And a lot of times you'll find them.
Yeah.
And then how has it changed you? How could it change you? And then what are you going to do as you move forward? So I kind of like how you put that. Probably an important aspect, one that I looked over, but like, well, where was God in that moment?
Yeah.
The whole like footsteps metaphor, like
Yep.
I only saw one set of footprints, and that's because he wasn't with you, he was carrying you through those moments. So I like that. Another quote: all you have to do to change your world is change the way you think about it. I think nowadays I'll say a little sentence. Was Ethan our shot?
Yeah.
That's Ethan Joshua Mills. All you have to do to change your world is change the way you think about it. I think too many people try to change too much of others instead of just
Sure.
thinking about their own mind.
Yeah.
You're stronger than your mind. I like that one.
That I don't dislike it. I mean, it almost sounds almost too new age-ish, of like, get outside of yourself on another plane and, succumb. But I mean, I know what you...
So my write-up was, or my thought is, and one of the things I did last year was I gave up Diet Coke. I mentioned it in service, but I gave up Diet Coke for the year, which sounds maybe it's not a big deal. Like coffee is a big thing for people.
Sure.
They
Same thing.
kick out, right? Caffeine,
sugar.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee, technically, the funny thing is you go to the doctor and you get like a test and they're like, you can't eat anything, but you can drink black coffee. Like, it's the one thing, like even on a blood test,
Really?
they'll let you drink
I didn't know that.
black coffee.
Oh, I'm all right.
You can have surgery. Sometimes they're like, you can't have anything except coffee. I'm like, that's strange. Can I have my Diet Coke then? But anyway. But I said I'm going to give this up. And again, Diet Coke seems to be... I gave up regular Coke for Diet Coke back in the day because I thought I wanted to lose weight.
Sure.
So like,
You got tricked.
Replace one with another.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I know it's just full of chemicals. And people say it's worse for the chemicals because there's more chemicals than the chemicals to make it sweet. So I said, I probably should stop this. But it turned out to where like breakfast, I need to drink it. Lunch, I need to drink it. Dinner, I need to drink it. So I give it up. And it was hard for me, obviously. But when I say it to someone, they're like, oh, I'd never be able to give up my coffee. I'm like, yeah, you could.
Right there, you lost it.
No,
You lost that battle right there.
Like, no, I don't think I could never. I need it. So when I say you're stronger than your mind, like,
Sure.
That's and that's kind of where my little explanations come with each of these. It's like, and that's why I want to have like where does it sound to you like this? So. That was my thought on that one. You're stronger than your mind. Control your mind or it will control you. I think that literally is the same thing, just twisted a different way. Actually, that's what I wrote in here.
Is it that one? Well, the next one too, and they go ahead. They're very kind of similar. Mm-hmm. I think that's just, I see it. I mean, in myself of like just I floated along with that one in the previous one too, because I think there's something with that too. Like you just mentally, if you just think you're defeated, I mean, kind of like you're saying with the Diet Coke or whatever, the coffee. Like I can't do that. I need it. Well, you lost that already. You need to, you win that war in your mind first.
if you notice this, so this is all 1 week. So it started with the quote you chose, and then all these mind. Your mind needs stimulation to grow. I think too many people go into eating right or trying to exercise like January 1 or January 2, whatever. This year might have been January 4th because it was Monday, but they haven't tackled the situation of how are they going to get through. Now, my January 1, I'll probably say this every podcast, but it's just, it's day 1 was my quote. And I actually use that almost every day. In my own mind, I do it, and then I put it in the quotes basically like every third one, because I don't have to not drink coffee for a year. I just have to not drink it today. And I don't need to drink it for dinner tonight. I don't have to drink coffee for dinner. That's all I have to get through is dinner. Sure. And then tomorrow I just got to make sure I don't buy it for breakfast. And so that's how I progress it. So then when I put this kind of like the second week in January, where it's like, it's when some people are like, I don't get that. Like, what do you mean you have to be stronger than your mind? Or like, how do I control my mind? It's just those little decisions. That's all it is. Like, just get through a minute. Just get through an hour. Just get through to get to the next one, and then make that decision when you get there. As far as food in the house, like, you ever see those shows where they're like Biggest Loser, and they're like literally go in and they just throw everything away in their pantry? Because if it's there,
correct,
you're just gonna.
I tell that to Julie all the time. Don't buy that crap. I won't eat if it's not there.
Yeah.
If you, then like she does hard. And like I'm not trying to throw her under the bus or anything like that. But like if the crap's not in the house, I'm not gonna eat it then. But if it is, I'm gonna eat it because don't want it to go bad. Or I use the excuse of like, well, I don't want the kids eating that crap, and I'm already this far gone, so protecting the kids.
Yeah, that's all the conversation I've had in my brain and in my house. So another aspect of like be stronger than your mind is stronger is like sometimes it's not. Sometimes you need to just get it out, or put yourself in a position. If you want to get up early and run, not that I'm not saying you do, but like whatever.
I don't.
You probably wake up too early to go to your work, but you need to have a plan of like setting the shoes out, setting the sweatpants out, like whatever you need. Have it ready so you don't have that excuse in the morning when the alarm goes off. So it's just a small whatever example, but it's just planning properly. The quote on that week that I like the best is do the best you can until you know better. When you know better, do better. I do not have a plan for the year or even month. Oh, this kind of talks to that. I have a rough draft of the week. Don't eat these things. Do something active every day, whether it's exercise or like redoing my patio. Preferably a full-out exercise plan, but if it's okay, if I can't fit that in, I try to read, journal, and pray. And when you said you work from home, but like when you're driving places, that probably is your time of like meditating, praying, being by your own mind.
Yeah. Try to like it.
Journal while you're driving,
but no. Yeah, like I try and like older age, getting older. I don't know. I mean, it used to be crank the music up and listen to it real loud, and that's it, right? And then it's like, you know what? There's something healthy about letting that mind go. Not.
I mean, some days you need music.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Our next week's guest actually is going to totally talk about the music.
Who's that?
Hannah Francis.
Okay. Sneak peek.
So, we were going to talk music because music has its own.
Yep. But for sure.
Sometimes you just need
the radio has been off more, and like now I wrestle with like, man, it's not I guess the time communing with God that I wanted it to be. It's now I'm up and I'm driving, so now I'm going to work and thinking about what I got to do for the rest of the day or for the day. Coming home, it's that time of which is needed unwinding and a little bit getting those thoughts hopefully out. But again, something that like I wanted it to kind of be my time, quiet time communing with God hasn't. Been meeting with Dave Short a little bit, and he's got me on a daily thing. It's with the guy that does Alpha, but it's every day. It's going through the Bible in a year, and it's I download and I listen. It's like a half-hour thing he does, and I told him it's really cool. It's like it reminds me of some of the old school church, going to church of like you got a reading from the Psalms, you got a reading from the Old Testament, and you got a reading from the New Testament with some commentary in between us. I kind of like that, just the old tradition. Like would have asked me about that 15 years ago, and I'll screw this old tradition.
Right.
But yeah, going back to kind of what I grew up with, and like I think there's something there of, because it's all about Jesus from Genesis to Revelation. So you're tying it all in, and like that's been good doing that in the morning, just listening to that.
That's good. Yeah, that kind of wraps it up on that last quote. When you know better, do better. Whether it be, I kind of like as people start their New Year's resolutions and they're trying to find time. And some people saying, I'll wake up early, and then you just can't. Maybe you can fit it into a drive to work on your way home from work. Maybe as you eat lunch, if you're a person that as you work, you can, get time to just sit by yourself. Is there a chance you could do that? I know some people that they go out for a walk on their lunch or they replace their lunch with the walk. And I don't think that prayer time has to be in the study at your house on your hands and knees. It could be. And this is where, like, wherever you could fit it in, whether it be a minute for the first day or you know how to fit in a half hour. I maybe it's people like to fit that much time of just meditation prayer, but everything's got a goal. Maybe that's the ultimate.
Well, I'm like with that quote. Do the best you can until you know better, and then do better. Like that's good, but and not to say getting down on your hands and knees before God is the ultimate place of prayer, but that's better than just a quick minute prayer of God, thank you. There's something of actually humbling yourself down on your hands and knees. It's there's I think a process and growing into that and involving aspects of that.
Setting goals. That was the challenges from our last week. Was like, where can I start today? Where can I see myself in a week?
Sure.
And then where can I see in a month? Can I get to that point where I'm in that optimal prayer position or whatever that is, in a month? And if not, if you get there and you're like, well, I wasn't able to do it, then set a new goal, set a new timetable, don't ever just quit at anything just because, it didn't work out. Because as you hear, like we're both saying, like it takes time, it takes family, it takes commitment from everybody, and you set a goal. If you hit it, great. Set it to the next. That's not the ultimate. There's always some place further to go. It's not just like, okay, I reached it, so that's all. Like I think there's always something you could be working on as you continue. Anything else you want people to know about you? Did we hit everything? Did you come up with any questions?
No.
Okay. That's good. That's good because I was afraid you were going to hit that.
No, you kept my brain entertained enough where I didn't wander and start thinking about questions for you.
That was my goal.
That was your goal?
This has been Matthew Lee Boomsma. We've had Jonathan Andrew here as producer. I'm David Joshua Bales, DJVonFire. Again, you could follow my Instagram. You could get these quotes every day. We release a new one. Or you can email me at djv@secondplacechurch.com if you wanted to learn more about myself, or if you want me to get you in touch with Matt, or if you just see either one of us at service on Sundays, come on up and say hi. We'd love to meet you. But you already heard it for next week, Hannah Francis. Have you ever had a conversation with him?
I think I've had a couple.
A couple?
Yeah. She's in our small group for a little bit.
Yeah. So I think she's going to have a good perspective for people. So make sure you guys check back next week. Have a good one.